and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we do have a packed video coming your way right off the back of the victory against Espanyol yesterday. But of course, despite the win, there were plenty of questions in there as well. Today we're going to be talking about the words of Hansi Flick following the game. We're going to be discussing Raphinha as well, with also full focus on midfield. We're going to be talking about Frankie De Jong, about Gavi, and we're going to be having another look at the midfield combinations with more understanding now on what works and maybe what doesn't work so well. And I'm really interested to know your thoughts on that, guys. So it is all on the way today. I hope you're all still there with a smile. So let's do this. And today, guys, is indeed a very special day, because over on MORETALKFCB later on, the first ever episode of the TalkFCB podcast, it's going to be dropping there. It is something new, something brand new that I'm trying here, and I hope it's going to be exciting there. So please do keep a lookout for that if you are interested. But let's crack on. First of all, though, with all of the reaction to the Espanyol game and what we learned here, because indeed Barca, with that victory, moved 9 points clear at the top of the La Liga table. Of course, Real Madrid were not in action at the weekend, so Barca really extending that gap, piling the pressure on all of those below us. And of course, in the first half, it was spectacular. I don't think we can actually stress how good that was. In the first half, I was honestly believing this could be any number. It could be 4, 5, 6, 7. It could be 8 against Espanyol. And maybe it was actually because the first half was that good, because then our expectations were going up and up and up, that then that drop off in the second half, it was very unexpected. I did not expect Barca to perform like that in the second half, and maybe that was the real shock of it, because we were on for a historic derby win. But in terms of Hansi Flick's reaction there, he said, I'm happy that we have won, of course, but he said, I agree that we lost concentration in the second half. He said, I've told the team that, and I also told them, though, we are having a very good season. So I will accept the second half today, but for Wednesday in the Champions League, we need to do better. We need to show a better performance. We need to be on another level. And I thought that was interesting there from Hansi Flick, basically to say, okay, I'll give you that one. The second half, it wasn't good. We can all see it. We've all admitted it. But you know what? Because of the way that you've played, because of what you've done in recent weeks this season so far, I'll allow you that one bad half. Because it's almost as though here with Flick and his players, there is credit in the bank. You can't tear everything up just because we've had one bad half. We've been spectacular so far this season. And even this game, we've still won it pretty comfortably. So obviously we don't want to be too hard on the players here, but at the same time, there's an understanding that can't happen again, though. We'll give you that one. We won the game. We got away with it. But on Wednesday in the Champions League, we must go again and we must do more. But in La Liga, guys, can I just say here, the stat that is astounding, after the 12 league games, only 12 league games that we played this season, Barca have scored 40 goals in La Liga. 40 goals in 12 games. That is absolutely off the scale. And what that means right now is that Barca have scored more than Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid combined. I mean, that is unbelievable. Hansi Flick here is getting the players firing, scoring at such an incredible rate, and it is a joy to watch. However, guys, I would like to move on here to talk about a player who is such an integral part of that Hansi Flick success at Barca so far. And of course it is Raphinha, who scored yet again in yesterday's game. And I had a really excellent super thanks coming in here. And it says Raphinha should remain captain even once everybody is fit. That is what is in my heart. And I've got to say, guys, in terms of Raphinha with that captain's armband, I always feel genuinely a bit sad when he has to take it off. When somebody comes on there, when he actually has to remove the armband, even despite starting with it, I just feel sad for him. I feel as though that armband, genuinely, not even making this up now, it takes him to that next level, because I think it suits his style of play in this team. It suits his role out there on the field, the way that he leads by example, because I think leadership here at Barca, in this Hansi Flick team, it's all about setting that standard for your teammates there, that you have have to follow, that they have to match your level. We spoke about it in that forward line. Raphinha, he sets the pressing standard. He's doing absolute wonders in front of goal. And then in midfield, I'd say Casado. He's the player there that also sets the standard in terms of intensity. We saw that when he went off yesterday. He is the one that brings it and ensures that everybody else is doing the same. You need players like that. You need leaders there on the field with or without the armband. But I just want to mention here with Raphinha, yet another goal that he scored yesterday. That takes him now to 11 goals in just 15 games this season. And that means already he's surpassed his goal tally of last season. He played 37 games last season, 10 goals to his name. So absolutely incredible numbers, incredible success that Raphinha is having in this Hansi Flick team. And that is interesting because I would like to talk about some words that he had just before this game, actually, in the days leading up to it, about his time under Xavi. He said it's not a criticism of him, but with Xavi, I already knew that I was going to come off in the 60th minute. He said, I tried to do everything in those 60 minutes, but nothing worked out. And he said even in times when things did work out, I was taken off anyway there. So Raphinha, I think still, like we said before, he's playing with this sense of frustration that, okay, up until now, it hadn't worked out for him. And I think under Xavi, it's a clear case there of somebody who didn't really suit the way that Xavi wanted to play. And there's plenty of other examples of this in the Barcelona team right now, whereby he didn't get the freedom. He didn't get the kind of role that he was looking for. He wasn't able to really express what we're seeing now. I think only when he was playing in a central role under Xavi, maybe towards the end there of his time at the club, did we actually see Raphinha start to flourish in some ways. But under Flick this season, it's been a completely different story. Raphinha says this season, there are different people who have a different way of doing their job and dealing with the players. He said it helps to change the mentality after not winning anything last season. So Raphinha believing there the club needed a big change, a big shift. That is what we are seeing, and he is definitely flourishing right now. However, guys, at the very other end of the field now, I would just like to talk here about Inaki Pena, because I have two super thanks coming in, and they're actually a little bit different here. Matthew says, look, I'd like to give a shout out to Inaki Pena. Despite not keeping a clean sheet, made some key saves and interceptions in this game. But Vishal says, maybe it's time to give Szczesny a chance. Not saying Inaki was bad, but it may be worth a shot there for the Champions League. So what do you make there of those two different views, guys? Because in my opinion, Inaki Pena yesterday, yeah, he couldn't do anything about the goal. I don't blame him on that at all. The whole team had switched off at that point. So obviously Inaki Pena is going to be under a bit more pressure because of what's happening in front of him. But at the same time, I did think he pulled off a brilliant save in the second half there. 1 versus 1 again. He was very brave, very quick off his line, and made himself really big to deny Espanyol another certain goal. So I think Pena making a big save there. And like we said before the game, we want to see a string of quality performances from him. We want to see him pulling off saves, keeping this level of confidence. That is really, really important. And again, Flick reiterated after the game, in modern football, you need daring players, and the goalkeeper is absolutely key for us. He said, we are very, very happy with Inaki Pena. So Flick, they're happy with what he's seeing, but when do you guys believe we will actually see Wojciech Szczesny? You know, will it be in the near future? Will it be in the games to come? Might we see just a little change there for a one-off game? Or will Flick just keep things going? Will he not want to change anything, ruin the momentum of Inaki Pena? Because as actually Szczesny said himself, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So should we really expect to see Szczesny soon on that basis? But let's move on now, guys, to the topic of midfield. Let's start with Frankie De Jong, because I have to say, even before he came onto the field, guys, I did have a few doubts, because as you all saw, when Barca went 3-0 up in the game there, brilliant goal from Dani Olmo, everybody in the stadium was on their feet celebrating wildly. We were 3-0 up inside 30 minutes of the game, but then of course the camera, it panned on the bench, and you look at Frankie De Jong. I mean, he didn't look happy at all, did he? And I just had the feeling in that moment there, the thoughts going through his mind, and he looked as though he was sitting there thinking, I'm not getting back in this team, am I? I am simply not going to be able to get in there. Because of the way that that first half was being played, because of the performances we have seen from every single player, nobody could touch them. Nobody could get near what that Barca lineup produced there in that first half. And I was then hoping, okay then, when the subs come on though, you've got to be desperate then to show what you can do. You've seen how good that first half was. You've seen how good those performances were. When you come on then, you've got to be right at it. You've got to match that level. But that just didn't happen. It simply did not happen there. Frenkie and of course Fermin as well came onto the field and everything changed there in that second half, and particularly when it comes to Frankie De Jong right now. I do think at times he's still playing with some fear, and maybe that's normal. Maybe that's absolutely what the club are expecting right now. Physically, of course, he's gone through such a difficult time. We still don't know if and when the pain comes back, you know, how he will feel on a day-to-day basis. And I see Frenkie out there at times on the field, and he's quite static. You know, I don't know if he's actually able to play at full intensity for every minute that he's out there. I don't know if actually he's got to sort of manage the game as he goes on. And I think with Frankie De Jong at times, you need those around him to be playing well. You need those around him to have a good sense of structure. You know, we saw him come on against Real Madrid when the team as a whole was playing well, was looking good, was feeling as though there's an organisation there, and he was excellent. He really did impact the game, and you've got to give him big credit for that. But yesterday, when those around him, when the team as a whole was not really performing, I think Frenkie then gets sucked into that. You know, he doesn't feel supported in that midfield. He doesn't feel as though he can be unlocked, and that is definitely an issue. And that is why when we come onto the combinations, you've got to match him up right. You've got to play him in the right combination and in the right circumstances. Because then we've got to talk about Gavi. Because I want to talk about the fact here that every single time already here that Gavi comes on, even though he's only getting a few cameos every game, he adapts to the pace of the game very well, in my opinion. And when you look at him, given the injury problems that he's had, such a serious injury that unfortunately happened to him, he hasn't lost that spark though, has he? You know, he hasn't lost that fearless, tireless attitude that he comes on with. And I mean, we knew that he wouldn't. We knew that absolutely nothing would change Gavi as a player, and that is really refreshing to see. And Flick after the game did say that Gavi will continue to be used gradually, that we will play him and build him up very gradually, but he is a very important player. And I think it's actually quite difficult, quite tricky with Gavi in this situation, because from the outside, there's absolutely no sign that he needs time. You know, you look at the way that he comes on, you look at the way that he plays every minute that he's out there, there's no sign that he needs to be held back, you know, that we need to go slowly, that we need to go gradually. But of course, because of that injury, we do have to follow a procedure. We do have to go very carefully with him. But I'd just like to say, I cannot wait until he's fully released. You know, I can't wait until he is properly back, properly acclimatized again to playing full matches, you know, but even having him for 10 minutes, then building it up to 20 minutes, then building it up to half an hour in a game, that's going to be amazing too. We are going to see Gavi play more and more as time goes on, and for the team, that is going to be huge. And well, speaking indeed about all of those midfield options, players returning here, lots of choice there for Hansi Flick in those midfield positions. He was actually asked about that after the game, and he replied there, stacked in midfield, maybe then I will have to play with 6 midfielders. And then he burst out laughing. He said, I don't think I'm going to do that, but hey, I won't have any complaints if I have this many available to me. But I think with every game here, guys, what we're going to do with these players coming back, we're going to gain more of an understanding of the best way to use these options, because I think we have so many quality players. And I'm not saying here that Frenkie and Fermin, yeah, they didn't play so well when they came on yesterday, doesn't mean they're not good, doesn't mean they can't add real quality to this team, but you've got to work out the best way and in the best matches to actually use them and who should play together. Because in my opinion, we have seen quite clearly, quite evidently in the season so far there, at the base of that midfield, Casado alongside Pedri. Now that for me is fully proven now to be the perfect balance at the base of our midfield, because you have Casado who brings the intensity, who really solidifies the defensive side of the team. That's very important. He manages space very well. He intercepts danger. That is so key as well. And then you have Pedri alongside him, who can unlock teams, who can actually collect the ball there, and who can actually transfer there that ball from defence to midfield, and then of course providing the attackers. That is absolutely vital. So Casado and Pedri as a duo, they are perfect. But of course, you can't play with that every single game, every single minute. So for instance, if you want to bring Frankie De Jong on right now, I think one of the options has to be to bring him on with Marc Casado. If you need to rest, for instance, Pedri, then you could introduce Frenkie into that base of midfield, because then Casado, he can help Frenkie, you know, as we just spoke about, he can help to unlock him, he can support him there in that area, he can do defensive work that Frenkie simply cannot do, and that is really, really important to give Frenkie confidence and to give the team confidence as a whole. So Casado and Frenkie, I believe that can work, but we will have to see more of it. But then, of course, you might need to rest Marc Casado. Now, yesterday we saw Frenkie alongside Pedri. Now, what we also saw in yesterday's game as it went on was Pedri tiring too. So you had Frenkie, who was coming on, trying to adjust to the pace of the game, alongside a bit of a tiring Pedri. Now, I don't think that's ideal. That's not really a combination that you want at the base of your midfield. There's not enough bite there, and Espanyol were able to get more on top of us. So I would suggest using Frenkie alongside Gavi, because obviously as Gavi came on, again, the intensity was up, things changed there in the final minutes of the game, and I think that could be more effective. You partner Frenkie with somebody who is going to bring more intensity, more pace to the game, and certainly there, again, can help him in that central area. That is very, very important, but I would just still like to say again, guys, simply because I want to see it, I want to see what it can do, can we at some point see Marc Casado and Gavi together? I mean, I honestly don't know what that will be like. It will probably be unbelievable, because not only you will talk about having maximum intensity there, players who can get about the pitch, players who can give you unlimited energy. Casado and Gavi, you could put them out there all day. They run all day long. But you can't just say that. They are terrific players. You know, they can both really pick a pass. They can both have real penetration in the final third. We've seen the brilliance of Casado, not only off the ball, but on it too. He has been superb. Don't forget that. And Gavi is fully capable of that too. So I would be really intrigued to see what that midfield could do there. Casado, Gavi together. We will see it. I am absolutely sure of that. And when we do, oh, I hope it's special. But indeed, guys, what I need to know in the comments down below from you right now is, looking at that midfield, looking at what we've learned over these past few weeks and what we will continue to learn in the weeks ahead of us, what combinations do you like right now? Which ones do you see that can succeed? And which ones should we have caution with there? Are there players that shouldn't really play together, that don't really work as a duo? Let me know all of that down below, and I will be really interested to know what you guys are feeling. So thank you indeed for tuning in here today, for all of your great support, and please do go ahead and check out that first podcast episode over on MORETALKFCB and let me know what you think of it, guys. Thank you indeed for everything. I will be back soon, but until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.